Michael, I did my doctorate in neurophysiology, and I've been obsessed with the mind-body problem my whole life. But I come to you to find out, do I have a soul?
I see. Well, given you did your doctorate in neurophysiology, I expect you're rather skeptical about whether or not you have a soul. And I think that sort of skepticism is eminently justified. I mean, there are various facts about, for example, the effect of damage to the brain. Okay, one has a stroke and so on, that may impair one intellectually in various ways. Bullets going through the head may affect mental functioning, may change personality. Drugs can have a striking effect. I mean, if so to speak, my mind were an immaterial substance, I wouldn't expect, for example, that as I grow older, I mean, I'd have more difficulty remembering things and so on, right? And so there's a whole range of facts that make perfectly good sense if the mind just is the brain, right? And that require extremely ad hoc explanations if the mind is an immaterial substance.
So you would reject the notion, what's called substance dualism. There are two kinds of substances. Yes. There's a mental substance that exists disembodied and the brain, which is embodied. So you reject that substance dualism, but you believe something called interactional dualism.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, I think there are properties, okay? I mean, consider the experience you have when you see something red, or consider the smell of a lilac, or, heaven forbid, the taste of Vegemite, okay, right? Now, I mean, the question is, those are properties that you seem to be immediately aware of, right? And so the question is, what is their place in the world, right? Now, some philosophers think that these can be reduced to the stuff of physics, the fundamental particles and the forces and so on. But no reduction has been forthcoming yet, right? And I think there are good reasons for thinking that no reduction is possible. So I think that in addition to the stuff of physics, there's also consciousness, and there are these qualitative properties, colors, tastes, smells, and so on, right, that aren't reducible to the physical world. But on the other hand, I think they causally interact with the physical world. That causes problems, but that's what I'm inclined to believe.
But what does that mean, though? What are these properties? You're not saying they're disembodied substances.
That's right.
They're not that. Are they platonic forms existing in platonic heaven in a different realm?
No, the idea is that they're extra properties of brain states. Okay, so the brain, in addition to having the properties of that physicists focus upon, right, the situations of complex brain states can have these quite simple properties of color, taste, smell, and so on. So there are extra properties in the world that are located where the brain is located, and they're located in specific parts of the brain, depending upon what their properties are.
But if that's true, why can't it ultimately be explained in terms of brain states, if that's all it is?
Well, I think there can be a causal explanation of how these states arise and so on. But I think there's a real problem of reducing these sorts of properties to the stuff of physics. There's a very famous argument dealing with a woman who sees the world in black and white, okay? And she learns everything there is to know about the brain, how it functions in color perception.
Wavelengths of color.
That's right, yeah, she knows all of that. It's called the Mary argument, or the knowledge argument, right? But the idea is that then she goes out of her black and white environment, or maybe she needs new eyes, right? And she gazes at a ripe tomato for the first time, right? And so the idea is now she knows what redness is, whereas before she could have had as much knowledge of the physics and neurophysiology situation as possible, and yet didn't know what redness is.
And what does that tell you about the nature of reality?
Well, it seems to me to tell one that there are properties, I say, which are over and above the ones that physicists recognize. Now, this causes real problems because if those properties have causal oomph, right, if they make a difference to our behavior, then it looks like they have to bump around the fundamental stuff of physics, right? And physicists, on the whole, are not going to be too happy with that.
Certainly it affects how we deal with the world, because that's everything we deal with are those properties.
That's right. I mean, and look, it would be incredible if those properties didn't have any causal oomph, okay, right? I mean, it seems very natural that when, you taste something new for the first time and have a different sort of experience, and you say, I've never had an experience like that, right? It's hard to believe that the experience itself isn't playing a role in producing those sounds and so on, that it's just, so to speak, electrons and so on in the brain that are doing the causing.
So it seems to follow from that there is a sense of reality, your sense of reality is a little bit bigger than the reality of fundamental physicists.
That's right, yes. So I disagree with materialists and people who are physicalists in philosophy and so on. I think there are this extra stuff. There's consciousness. It's pretty mysterious, but I think consciousness exists, and that involves direct acquaintance or direct awareness with these properties that are not reducible to
And it will never be able to be reduced, and therefore never be able to be explained, because you're not going to explain it with a disembodied non-physical substance, and you're not going to explain it, so you tell me, by reducing it to fundamental forces and particles in physics. So basically, you're never going to explain it.
Well, hopefully you will get scientific laws, okay, which deal with the connection between these qualities, both the connection between the brain states that causally give rise to these qualities, and then the causal relations running the opposite direction. But some of those laws, at least, will be ultimate laws, and they won't be reducible to laws of physics.